All right, this is actually Conversations Plus, the post show to Hangout Conversations with Matt Rappaport. Thank you, Bobby Joe Woodson. Matt Rappaport. Some of you know me as Rappaport Matthew or Rappy, or some people are calling me Fappaport. I don't know why. Hands, craziness. I don't know. Scrappy poo, Pappy, Rappa. We got guest. That too. Guest Rob Michael is with us. He's got his Fender Caster strapped to his shoulder as usual. And Lucas Johnson joined us, and he's back for more badassness.
Yo.
And Paul Roustan, you might remember him as the man who painted a half-naked chick for the first time. Maybe the only person to paint a half-naked chick on my show, or maybe not. Hello, Paul Roustan. Paul Roustan, real quick, let's start with you. You ran home to watch the show? Like no, physical running was involved? Did you? There was no huffing and puffing and blowing people's houses down?
No.
That's weird. So when were you breaking? But when did you where were you when you saw? Oh my God, it's on now. What the hell?
I was checking my email and I got your notification. It was like 9:50. It was like 2 hours after it started.
That's like when the show. No, that's when the show probably really started.
Okay. And I was like, son of a. I went to work today so that I wouldn't have to go tomorrow. So I could be here for the show.
Cool.
I was like, son of a.
So I'm going to start to reshare this, and I think it'd be cool while I'm resharing and not talking, if Rob wants to get a little jam going, and we'll start with a little jam. Another jam, because you're an awesome jam. I mean, what do you like to call, do you have like a nickname for the little, just improvs, or do you have any Michael-a-thons, or?
No, it's, here I am. I'm free associating my way, with my guitar. That's kind of it.
So guitar association, we'll call it.
Yeah, it's my guitar is sort of my machete through the jungle of reality.
I liked you in that movie. That was a good movie. Awesome. All right, Rob Michael, everybody. Conversations Plus.
Oh, pretty suave ending there, Michael. That was pretty slick.
Incredible.
Reassociating my way. Just like you, Paul.
Awesome.
because I watched Paul. I watched your show with Matthew when you were this last body painting one, the half naked one. I don't know what else to call the show. All the rest of them are all fully naked. This is the half naked show. But that was
sorry about that. I had the live thing going. I was like, why is there echoing going on? Oh, that's why. Anyway, sorry.
But you were talking about the same thing, how it's like, you were being asked, well, do you have like a master plan going in? Do you have a blueprint for this thing? No, you were just kind of, no, here's a, I forget her name.
Cirilla.
Yeah, Cirilla.
Cirilla, right.
Cirilla DeVille.
Yes. But no, it's a matter, no, I've got, well, you got the stencil. I guess you got that much, for it.
Right.
But then just kind of, going for it. And that's what I do too. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. But it just sounds so great.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, yeah.
It's just your mastery of it.
Music is easy enough. I hope it. I never really know how it comes off, because my goal, or my concern with playing music is that the presentation might be that it's like, gee, look at me, look at this thing I can do. And that's not really what I hope. That's not really what I want to be the presentation. I like it to instead to hopefully be this thing that kind of invites people in, because everybody can do it. Everyone can play music, And so I that's kind of a concern, when it's like,
No, I think people recognize when you're trying to impart some kind of an emotional connection, or you're trying to express yourself in a way that, it's recognized that it's like you're not playing something because you think it's a sport. It's because you want to say something.
Yeah.
That comes across.
It's pretty clear with you, too.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what I always I love watching you play, because it's so genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. You never know what you're going to come up with, and it's pretty cool to just hear it and see where you're going to go with it. And we never know, like, sometimes you go somewhere, you're like, oh, wow, he went on that progression, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, sometimes it's a surprise to me, too.
Did I do that? What? That's weird.
What are the markings on the top of your guitar? Those are like some sort of vents, or
here
it looks like a
stylus.
Well, it's some of them are holes. They're like holes, supposedly sound holes, but they don't really project very much sound. But mostly what you see here is we see some faders here. So I have like a volume fader, and then like a 3-band EQ, right? Bass, mids, and treble, or vice versa. And this is a fader that's going unused, because this guitar is actually set up such that I can use this as a synthesizer controller, but I don't have any of that synthesis stuff hooked up. But there's like a special, next to the jack, there's like a multi-pin port here, so I can interface this with the synthesizers. And so this would be the volume for the synthesizer, and then these would be switches, so I could change patches on the synthesizer.
That's a complex piece of equipment.
It's a complete, so I'm just using it as the most, just the guitar functionality, Yeah, it's actually quite a deep instrument. It can be, I can play this and play drum sounds, or the sound, any sounds you would associate with a keyboardist, I can get via this instrument, which I used to do a lot of. I used to do that a whole lot for years. I would do this thing where I would play guitar, synthesizer, and kind of normal electric guitar. At the same time, kind of fulfilling at least two musical
roles. Like Robert
roles.
Fripp style, or
kinda. I tried to make it sound like two different people. So there was a keyboard player and a guitar guy, and I would just do.
Right.
And when I did that for enough years that after a while, it kind of grew a little bit old from my perspective, and so I stopped playing the guitar synthesizer. And then when all of a sudden I had to do is show up with a guitar and just play that, I was like, this is the easiest thing I've ever... What could be easier than this? Maybe just show up and play guitar? How easy is this? And I just kind of never went back to the synth thing.
It became a bit of a shtick, I think. It was the same thing as like the traditional like live looping musicians.
Yeah.
It became like too formulated.
Well, it certainly can be true. There's that thing where, because there are people who do the looping thing as an art form. They really do play it as their instrument. And then there's kind of the shtick that the average looper does when they get their first delay pedal, which is significantly less interesting.
Yeah. There's a guy from Wilco that goes crazy. Lars, I don't know what his name is, but I've seen him live, and he does it's like the way his setup with his equipment is, it feels like he's a magician almost, because he's got so many different pieces all over the place, and he's just pedaling and plugging things in. He's got like it's almost like a computer spitting out different music.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it very much is a computer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different modules to it all coming into one, but it's set up like a computer would be. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite looping musicians is one where still I know my way around music technology, but she's got me stumped still to exactly how she does it. But her name is Zoe Keating, and she's from San Francisco, or from the San Francisco Bay Area. I think she's a little north of San Francisco. But Zoe Keating, kind of a big star on Twitter. But she's a cellist. She's an electric. Well, she sounds acoustic, but it's obviously got a mic on it. And she loops with Ableton Live, and she has a very minimal setup technologically speaking. She has a MIDI, foot pedal on the floor, and her laptop, and that's it. There's no other peripherals, so it's very and she's like a one-woman orchestra, and she's just got it set up so slick because you don't see her futzing around with electronics. You see her playing the cello, and pretty soon she's turned into this virtual orchestra, and she's the slickest one. Zoe Keating, boy, I really like her trip. She's really, but it requires a lot of forethought. She's not just kind of looping on the fly, though she can do that. But she's got it worked out in a very, very clever, unique way.
What was the name of the band that you said is in Massachusetts? It has a fusion funk.
They're called Snarky Puppy.
Snarky Puppy.
Dumb name, great band though. Wow, they're really good.
I'm right near Massachusetts, so I'm gonna see if I could try to catch.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like a kids band or a ice cream cone.
Yeah, maybe part of it. They play largely instrumental music, as do I, and part of the fun of instrumental music is that you can name the tunes anything you want. It just doesn't really matter, So I think maybe Snarky Puppy came around from that mental space. I just have a feeling. Maybe I'm sure that's not the story, but it could be. Yeah, see, my titles are really. I gotta wait for something clever because when I first start a tune, do you see it?
Team 62, number 62, or is this a rubato? Yeah, but even someone like Dave Matthews Band have songs that are numbers 41, 40, 30. Yeah. They have a bunch. Like, why not?
I'm working on song 49 right now.
There you
I'm
go.
not even kidding. Yeah, it's horrible. I'll go in and name them after the fact, but it's the same thing. It's just like you don't want to think about it ahead of time, and it doesn't mean anything if you do because it's going to change. The original thought that you had is probably going to change pretty radically throughout the course of writing the song.
Well, the famous thing is with Yesterday that it was like Paul came in with like nonsense words, right? Like just had the tune.
There's still musicians that write like that, though. Vocalists that'll come up with the melody and go into just get the ideas down and be going like like not actually saying.
Right. I went into a place to buy something good and it was good.
Woman, woman, and over and over.
Yeah.
I wonder how many lyrics just happened by do you think a lot of lyrics happen by accident? Just people they had the melody and they were just like singing, and when it sounded good they kept it.
I think some of the classic rock songs from the 70s have a little bit of that in there. Have a little bit of let's fill in some.
Like we talked Stairway to Heaven, and some of it doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but.
I mean, it's the classic battle between certain elements of Lord of the Rings and contemporary.
I've read the Tolkien trilogy. I don't know what's going on with those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why we needed the movies to sort it out. Yeah. So there's the orcs and this and that, and there's Elijah Wood. Just follow him with a ring. All right, great.
Yeah.
Got it.
I've even done this thing where I wrote a tune for the first Atmos trio record where. I wrote the tune, it was all done, and now I'm going to title it, and I realized after the fact, it was all done, that the chord changes were actually the same as from this Pat Metheny tune. So rather than try to deny it and just kind of not cop to it, the song that I wrote is called Another Slip, and the one that I inadvertently copied is called, what is it called? It's called Slip Away. I think that's what it's called. This is a Pat Metheny song called Slip Away, and I accidentally copied these chord changes, so I called my song Another Slip, just to kind of acknowledge, sorry, oops, I lifted these changes.
You did it again.
I didn't mean to.
Wait, now, was that a song that you had been listening to a lot, or that you had played live or something?
Well, I mean, I've listened to the, I think it's just so, I've listened to his music enough, and wrote it all out. It's kind of in my subconscious,
Subconsciously, yeah.
So I thought, wow, this is what a hip tune. I wrote this tune. How great! I'm like, and there's kind of this.
Oh shit.
And that's my thing now. I've done it right. In fact, this is another way I've used Hangouts. Is I'll play a tune and go, has anyone here ever heard this before? I think I wrote this tune, but I'm not sure, And sometimes the answer is no, you didn't write that. I heard that in the Cirque du Soleil. Oh, okay, well, good. I won't try to say I wrote it then. It happens, man. You just don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I avoid looking at great artists so I don't get them in my subconscious.
It's not really pollution, I guess, but it kind of is in a way.
Well, it's hard, we're all artists in the sense that it's hard to be fully original. Like everyone's going to look for whenever you hear a song or see a movie, you always think, oh, didn't so and so do that, or isn't that kind of like this or kind of like that? I mean, it's natural, right?
My combat for that is to just absorb as much different variety as possible, so that it becomes hard for one thing to really pollute too much. Because then, if you take one little element from like country music, one element from jazz, and you start to mix and match those, you can't tell where the hell it's coming from after a while.
No.
So I mean, that's one way of doing it, but definitely, like I felt like that for a while, that I shouldn't listen to other people's music, and I should just focus on writing for a while.
Yeah, but listening to music, but there's something about that. I mean, that gives you a point of reference. And
about getting inspired or getting ideas when you're stuck.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But there are basic formulas when it comes to movies, or even, movies have, Boy Meets Girl, this, that, but even songs, like you have the Axis of Awesome with how many songs use the same 4 chords, right? So,
you bet.
There's a lot of that. I mean,
even the verse, chorus,
right.
chorus again.
Climax, build up.
Yeah. You bet.
Yeah, they always talk about strong verse, weak chorus, or whatever. But is that, and so with art too? I mean, Paul, I guess certain patterns or styles or types of things.
Totally. Yeah.
Like when it comes to body painting, I mean, sure, there's either all designs or a specific logo or.
Yeah, there's techniques and color choices that can be compared to other artists. And there's a whole. It's a small industry, but most of us know each other, and they occasionally get together at conventions, body paint conventions and competitions and stuff. And I've only been to 3 of those, but I make a mental effort not to look too hard at everybody else's work, because my stuff is totally different from all theirs, because I don't go to those things regularly, and I don't want to get too attached to their styles, because I could look at a bunch of the artists in there and I can see them bouncing off of each other, which is great to do, but I'm always trying to avoid that.
Right.
I want to find something new.
You're kind of future-proofing your creative juice too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, here you are. Your medium is basically It's a visual medium, I guess. So I mean, the same way as you could be influenced by other body painters, you could just as easily be influenced by architecture.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Which I am regularly. I mean, I've used all sorts of references in my work, ranging from Ansel Adams photography to Stanley Kubrick movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
And moods too, right? So when you guys are playing music and stuff, that was weird. Mohammed, hello. It was in and out. But when it comes to playing music, I mean, that really, or even writing or paint or art, I mean, how you feel or what's going on in your life is really important, I think, to how it comes out. Because if you're in a really dark place, a really bad place, or you're in a great place, I mean, that really affects. That's really a big part of the final product, I think. No?
It can be. It depends on the approach. Usually, if I'm writing something, I'm writing for a reason. I mean, sometimes you just write because, oh, wow, I hear this little song visits your mind, and so you jot it down. But usually, I have a reason I'm writing. Okay, I'm making this record, and now I need this type of tune. So it's like placing an order for a hamburger or something, to the cosmos, though, so to speak. I need an up-tempo kind of tune with this kind of mood, and hopefully I can, kind of manifest that. So that, to me, really helps, kind of this placing an order, so to speak, to this kind of little cosmic radio in my mind. That way I can kind of hopefully manifest a type of tune that fulfills a musical need that I have, rather than just sort of wait around for some mystical event to occur, which may not happen for years. I can't really wait around for that.
So once you know what kind of vibe you're going after, do you have ways of like triggering stuff from yourself, like listening to certain records or going to a certain park, or do you have any like kind of things that put you in that headspace that you kind of revisit?
Kinda, I suppose. Mostly, it's just I mean, if I said, oh well, if it's like a certain type of feeling or type of tune, I generally know from a technical perspective. Okay, how can I evoke this? Is it a major key? Is it a minor key?
Right.
Is it going to be an odd time? Is it groove-based kind of thing? Is it what kind of is it harmony that will set the mood? Is it a real lyrical melody? Is it real sparse, or is it a dense thing? These kinds of things really fill in a lot of the blank that would otherwise be there. So in that way, it's kind of your musical background gets you a long ways. Like I've seen cartoonists, where you can just take a pencil and make a scribble on a page, and they can make something magical out of it. They can use almost anything as raw material. Musically.
Do you know who Sergio Aragonés is? He's a cartoonist for Mad Magazine. He does all the little pen work on the margins of the pages.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he also does specific. He does like the most artwork of everybody in the magazine, really.
But, and he might get the least notice, right?
No, he's pretty famous.
Oh, okay.
But I remember meeting him. Well, I met him at a convention several times, San Diego Comic-Con, and he was selling some of his original sketches, and he's already been dubbed like the world's fastest cartoonist.
Wow.
He literally, I heard him say that he'll be on the phone with his art director who's giving him an idea for a cartoon, and by the end of the phone call, he's like, all right, it's done, I'll send it to you in the mail.
Nice.
But basically, this guy came up to him. He's selling his sketches, and he'd have like maybe an 8x10 or an 8x12 or something, original drawing, and he'd sell it for like $150. And it was just a quick sketch. And this guy criticized him, saying, $150, that probably took you like a minute to draw. And he said, without hesitation, you're not paying for how long it took me to draw this. You're paying for how long it took me to learn to draw.
Learn how to do. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like. That's what I was saying about you, Robert. Like when you're playing, it's clear your mastery. You're just flowing. It's just flowing right out of you.
Yeah, and you make that's a good example too. It's like because people go to school for all those years, and then someone asks them a question, and they give them an answer on the spot, and they're like, why do I have to pay so much money for that answer, even though that answer is going to save me X amount of dollars? Or it's amazing. People.
Yeah.
But I also think that that might not just about what you're talking about. I think it also has to do with just people not wanting to pay for things.
Yeah.
I think that's really part of it. Any excuse.
Because we're all kind of artists, so our time is we get rewarded for it differently, because we can do something that's valuable in 10 minutes and then not do anything for a week, and that's kind of what your job involves. Like that's kind of the whole dealio. And I mean, I think that's becoming more and more accepted, especially because of the convergence of the tech world and how they operated is very much like that as well. It's the output, not the amount of time that you spent, typing away at something that matters.
Right.
Right.
And I don't think people respect. I mean, maybe younger people don't respect art enough in general, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems, or just corporations or businesses don't respect like that kind of talent and that kind of what goes into it. But
yeah. I would like to think that people recognize it and respect it. I think it's just undervalued in some ways because of how it's consumed and how it's put out there. But I don't think that people undervalue it. Yeah. I think that if somebody really, really likes something, gets enjoyment out of it, they will want to support it and want to engage with it as much as possible. And you see that it's just happening in different styles of music with artists that adopt new technologies more, and that right now is like electronic music for a lot of it. And you see lots of love there, man. It's crazy.
But it is interesting to note, though, like, a surgery yeah, I mean, there's different levels and different skills. You take like how much a surgery costs and how much someone gets paid for doing a surgery versus selling one CD, or I mean, it's. I know they're different things, and maybe it's not fair to compare, but it's like they're both sets of skills, and maybe there was different money spent and different ways to go about learning those skills, but there's still time and effort put into it, and obviously surgery is going to affect someone's life in one way, but that CD could affect someone's life in another way.
I kind of blame the price difference on the individual industries themselves, because like illustration industries, for example, they get robbed consistently. It's like standard to stiff illustrators by corporations, and but tattoo artists, on the other hand, make a killing. They make a lot of money, doing practically the same thing, just drawing on skin, but they've established themselves as, you're going to spend money if you're going to get a tattoo. Where illustrators are undercutting each other, offering free work. Corporations are expecting free work, so they're devaluing themselves. And it's the surgeons have established themselves as a
right. But the thing is that it still costs the same amount of money for me to eat as them to eat, and so it's not. It's that's the unfair part of it.
Right.
There's not like it's not I get there's different levels of eating, but still it's like a gallon of milk is a gallon of milk, right?
Yeah.
That's all the more reason. Sorry.
The model with the surgeon to me is very similar, I think, to the rock star who's employed by a major label. Most of that money's not going to that surgeon. Most of the money is going through a fat layer of middle management, administrative layer of stuff.
But at the end of the day, the surgeon's still take a nice chunk, bigger chunk than the artist can. For one, depends on who it is.
All depends on the artist, and how big it is.
Right. If I'm comparing like a top surgeon to Lady Gaga, that's one thing. But if I'm comparing an independent artist to a medium surgeon, there's a difference. Yeah.
Because that medium level surgeon, what we'll call him, is if he's employed at a hospital, he's got like that major label kind of behind him, so to speak, and that's the hospital administration level.
Right.
To me, an independent artist, if you wanted to make that similar kind of analogy, would be more similar to like maybe the local veterinarian who's independent, in like a rural community. That would be my kind of more similar to me than the surgeon who's employed by a doctor. I mean, a hospital that has a whole industry in between that's kind of exists between him and his patient or her patient.
Yeah, but my point is that the surgeon has a set of skills to do something. The independent musician has a set of skills to do something, and the idea that the independent musician to get to like a Gaga or whatever, there's a lot of bureaucracy, I should say, in both formats, but I don't know. Maybe it's just as difficult, right?
Right.
It is.
Maybe.
I honestly think that if musicians are as disciplined as people that become doctors, I think that this is less of an issue.
Yeah.
Most of the people that have careers in the music industry are very, very hard workers, and the people that don't, it's a combination of lack of dedication and lack of, skill set, but a lot of it is dedication. The people who are really, really want it bad enough usually end up getting it. Right.
Seems like there's just this myth, and that's not to say it doesn't happen, but this myth that like, okay, I'm going to do this artwork, somebody's going to see it, and that's that. I'm good.
Yeah.
From here on out, And that does happen from time to time, but that's probably like less than 1%.
Way less than 1%. It's like a similar level. It's like winning the lottery or something.
Right. Right.
No, you build up word of mouth in the community around you, and you hit enough people, and you do a good job with enough people that it starts to build up, and it's a natural thing.
But do you think it's? I mean, it's hard to sell art, music, movies, all that stuff. But do you think like possibly selling music it's easier when we talk about the internet? It's easier to get someone to buy an album or a song than it is say artwork or a movie.
Well, the advantage of being a musician, and why I bring in the dedication thing, is I don't think it's good enough for a musician to just do one thing anymore, right? I don't like part of your skill set that's required to make this a career now is to be able to do so many different things. you have to be able to teach, you have to be able to compose, you have to be able to play live, you have to be able to, write for, just blog or whatever, do some kind of social media where you're getting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to do all these things to make a career out of it nowadays, and right. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I just think it's a different change of skill set.
I don't even think it's really that. The skill set's changed, but I think it's always been that way. To really be, a professional in an artistic thing, you've got to do that. I mean, if you
got to be a businessman at some point.
You've got to be a business person. If you want to be a band leader, that's a lot more than just being a good trumpet player. There's a whole list of skills that you've got to have together, or it's just not going to work.
And especially now more than ever. Now artists, musicians all have the opportunity to really control their income.
Yeah, you have so many tools. Like if I think about if I was an engineer 15 years ago, what I would have access to, I would have a DAT tape, and I wouldn't be able to write something from scratch and take it to mastered on iTunes at a quality level that's not much different from a major studio. That's crazy. That's happened in 15 years. So this there's not much of an excuse for musicians not to be doing this stuff and not to be learning it. It's very important.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, my plan when I first was, where I wanted to be a player, my plan going through school was just to become the greatest a musician that was so good that I couldn't be ignored and that everyone would just want me to play on their project. I just wanted to be a sideman. I didn't want to be a band leader. I just wanted people to call me up and play guitar on their projects. That was my plan. But then by the time I was done, with college, I sat there, and when I was done practicing, I would look at my telephone, and it wouldn't ring, so it was clear. I was like, okay, if something's going to happen, I'm going to have to kind of make that happen, And so that was the day. That realization, that little epiphany was the day I became a band leader. I figured, okay, I think rather than wait for someone to call me with a gig, I have to go make the gig, and I'll hire these side.
I think, and that's an important distinction. I think a lot of musicians expect being able to play and writing songs to be enough, and they expect somebody to find them, which is complete crap. Yeah. I mean, you can't do that, least of all now.
No.
Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, guys. What's going on?
I kind of wish, too, that the whole starving artist definition would just go away.
You mean the stereotype of saying starving artist?
Because it is counterproductive to artists not being starving.
And not only that, but you sort of affirm, if you have that in your mind, you almost affirm it in yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You make it acceptable, and it's not acceptable. Right. It's crap. Yeah. It's, absolutely.
Well, it's just to someone who doesn't have any clients. You could be a starving accountant if you don't have any clients.
Right.
Yeah.
They should start doing that in school, say starving doctors and starving accountants.
Yeah.
See how that helps the situation.
But Rob, if you had music, you were selling music and playing gigs, you love teaching, but you couldn't survive only on gigs and selling music. You need the teaching to help you survive, right?
I do. I could, if I really wanted to live a really fairly bohemian lifestyle, I could probably just do it.
Instead of saying starving artist, let's just call us bohemian.
Bohemian.
But man, hey, I've got a family and kids and grandkids and a mortgage and blah blah blah, all this stuff, So it's like, well, all right, we want to keep the whole thing afloat. But again, teaching to me was never a departure from. To me, that's part of being a musician. I can just go right down a list. I'm like, let's see, Chick Corea teaches, Jeff Berlin teaches, Michael Brecker teaches, Pat Metheny teaches, Joe Satriani teaches. I was like, okay, well, there's no shame in that. That's not like it's a different thing. It's not like we're slumming, doing something else to support something else. It's not like it's a day job. It's not something that's outside of your field of expertise that you're using to support what you want to do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't really view that as any sort of compromise. It's just kind of all part of one thing.
And what's amazing, too, is how much you improve and learn as a teacher.
Right,
too.
Absolutely.
Especially in front of your students. So weird.
Absolutely right.
When I was going to school out in Boston for art, all the teachers were working teachers. So they were actually still working, and then, of course, they had their businesses on the side that they did their artwork.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to get a lot of insight from people who were living this as we were kind of learning what they were teaching.
Yeah, that's the requirement of some art schools,
Mm-hmm.
that they do that.
That they were actually working. Yeah, same thing with acting too. That they want the teachers to actually be out there. But
it got me weary though on some levels that some of these teachers we were the next up and comers. You know, we were the next people coming out that were going to be were jockeying for their jobs. So how much could they really teach us or want to teach us? I know that's kind of a jaded approach, but it actually got brought up a few times while I was in school, and I think about it to this day, and I'm like, yeah, they taught us some stuff, but you know, were they really teaching us all? The business of I actually had to take a business of art class to graduate, and that was pretty insightful. And you know, a lot of people don't realize in the music industry and in art and just about everything, it is a business. You know, you got to cash that paycheck, but there's taxes to pay. You know, usually you're working for yourself, so when do you file? And yeah, it's a whole other game.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, somehow I never took the taxes course. I had to figure that all out myself.
Yeah.
well, I don't know. I think artists. I think if you're an artist, although I guess anyone would call themselves an artist, but I think if you're an artist and you make below a certain amount of money, you shouldn't have to give any money back because you're not.
Well, there's definitely you know, there's a lot of advantages to being an independent contractor, and in Rhode Island especially, there's no taxes on clothing and no taxes on art sales. I think
there's a lot of deductibles.
Yeah, And, like, you need like specific paperwork and stuff.
Yeah.
To
I know. Back in Canada, we have we can write off just about everything, like a large portion of rent, especially if you're working out of a home studio. Wowza, it's pretty good.
It's the same here. Yeah. Yeah, the studio I'm in, this is all a write-off, as is the portion of my PG&E bill, you know, for the whole deal, you know. Yeah, so it's.
I heard a story actually in my business class about an artist who had his own studio set up in his home, and he got audited. And the IRS came to his home and sat down with him, and while they were there, the IRS agent noticed that there was one of his children's toys in the room. And he got slammed because they were like, this is not your art studio, this is a family playroom, so we're not going to give you anything. And he got lambasted by them. And
for one toy?
For one toy.
But is it that legit? I mean, is it that strict that you can't?
This was back. I was told the story back in like '96, and I don't know.
Did he say that toy's not normally there? It just happened to be there then.
Yeah, it didn't matter. I guess the agent really was having a bad day, but yeah, it was. The guy got reamed.
That's the problem in my studio.
So wait a minute. He could have said that was his good luck charm. Like, why? What's the law of having a toy?
The law is how the agent feels about what he puts down on the paperwork.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
He felt like it was an office. The other one didn't.
Yeah. The fact he got audited in the first place was a red flag, and then the.
How much? Just out of curiosity, do you know how much money he actually estimated?
No, like I said, this was back in '96, so people weren't talking numbers. He was just more relating the horror story about watching what you deduct and how you file and all this stuff, and then watch your.
I do everything.
But like, let's say you make something like ridiculously little. Like, let's say you make like $15,000, and then you owe like, because you were consulting. Let's say you owe like $3,000, and like you're like, well, I barely got by $15,000. How am I paying you another $3,000?
Once again, it doesn't matter. What he puts down on the paperwork is what matters, and the impression.
But my point is that the way the tax system works, I mean, political.
Oh yeah, the way the tax system works.
It's like, how can you? I mean, I don't know. But then they're like, well, that person should be on welfare. They're like, if you're not on welfare, then you're like, we're gonna. I don't know.
Well, number-wise, it should follow charts and graphs and be easy, but. you know, when it gets down to the levels, it doesn't really follow that anymore. When it gets down to the human level, it goes beyond those numbers, and it's just, you know, hey, was this guy having a bad day and felt like bringing the hammer down, or what?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, for that situation,
Just like an abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, if a guy makes 15,002 and owes 3,000, then he's doing something wrong.
Yeah. He's not.
No, why? No. I mean, like, if you take a standard, but if you take let's say you make something small, you take a standard deduction. I think it can be something like that, ridiculously high, the percentage.
The fact that he was getting audited in the first place maybe says that there were those red flags there, that the IRS came in the first place and said, hey, maybe you don't have all the receipts. That's why we're going to pay you a personal visit, and that was kind of the tipping point. You know, maybe he was doing things that already pissed this guy off, you know, but who knows? I always remember that story, and my girlfriend said to me when I was filing my taxes this year, said, you know, why don't you claim your home? And I said, because I live here and I got a rock band drum set up here and my TV, my couch. This is not a workspace in my home. I live in a one-bedroom tiny apartment. If I had a room specifically for that.
Now let me ask you a question. If I have an office, a physical location with an office, and I have a children's toy in my office, is it not going to count then? I mean, like,
well, that's different.
Depends on the agent.
It depends on the agent. And is your office in a strip mall or a high rise, or is it in someone else's home? Is it in your home?
What if it's in like a building with other offices?
Well, then
that would probably sway his decision.
That would probably sway the decision.
You're gonna have to refer to the paperwork, to the manual.
and suck up to the IRS agent.
Yes, Aaron has all the answers according to his shirt, but
the
IRS
actually one of my
very
shirts
complicated.
I made too. Yeah, exactly. I've got them all.
Why can't we just send our IRS bill to Google? Let them pay it. That works.
Matt, they owe you a lot for plugging their merchandise and their technology. So
maybe.
Well, I heard they took care of everybody in Austin. Like,
well, took care of. They got the they already had the open bar anyway. All right, you guys come in there. Whatever. It's all good. I would have liked to go to South by Southwest, but again, like, just to get there, let alone having money to do things there.
Yeah.
But people seem to have a good time. But South by Southwest to me is one of those places where everything was packed, and how do you go to South by Southwest and not go to any of the events, you know? It seemed like most of the people that were there to hurl, hang out in real life for you, those are there, like, I'm not going to puke, were there in Google houses. Like, they were drinking and eating in Google houses or in restaurants, but they didn't go to actual interactive or film or music.
Yeah, that would have been what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When did South by Southwest stop being
music?
I mean, it's still music, but now there's all this tech and.
Isn't it like 5 different? I had to look it up on Wikipedia, and it started out as, you know, as they all do, as a small thing, and then it just got so big it branched. You know.
I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. The tech portion of it got larger than the music portion of it.
They rejected my film in 2010, but it wasn't as good then. But even so.
That's why you didn't go. You refused.
That's why I go. I'm mad at you, XXFW.
I was gonna come, but I decided.
Tim Clary is here.
Hey guys.
Tim Clary.
What is how's it going?
Hey, sorry I missed the show.
That's all right. We had some tech
on the road. So
issues. Are you still near New York?
No, I'm down in Maryland. I'm at my sister's.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Very nice.
I'm going to be in Chevy Chase as soon as my brother has a baby.
Oh.
How far away that is from you?
That's pretty close. I'm in Silver Spring.
Oh, yeah, right there. I'll probably be in a hotel in, like, a Hampton Inn in Silver Spring, probably.
Hurl time.
Hurl time, but how long are you going to be there? For a while, or?
Just through the weekend.
Oh, so. If she has the baby, I don't know. Probably busy.
You guys are meeting.
But I'm going to try and meet up with Alex and Al Eben Ezra on Friday, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, Al's back, I guess, from South by Southwest, which we just finished talking about.
It's all the rage.
It's amazing. I still can't get over how some people can beat the whole South by Southwest. That seems crazy.
Aaron, have you been to the San Diego Comic-Con?
I have not, and that's like what I want to aspire to. I'm doing C2E2 this year, and that'll be a big one. But
what
I want
is
to get
C2E2?
It's the Chicago something something something.
That's the new
something.
one that's in McCormick Place, I think, right?
Yeah, it is.
I've always wanted to go to that. I'm from Chicago, so I did the whole Wizard World Chicago Comic-Con way back in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I did San Diego from 2001 to 2004.
How is it?
It just became like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredible, but it like every year was the same thing. I ended up spending like over $1,000.
Yeah.
And just getting tons of pictures with celebrities and
What was your favorite celebrity that you met? Was there someone that was awesome? Or?
Favorite.
Oh yeah, you met. Yeah, that's right. You showed us pictures with the Aunt Andrea from Walking Dead, Lori Holden. Is that where that was from? Yeah.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Was he cool?
He was he was really cool. Yeah, you want to hear the story about him? I was having lunch with my wife, my girlfriend at the time. No, we were married. I can't remember. I think we were married.
Either way.
A bunch of people just showed up. I gotta drop out. Sorry.
All right, later. Thank you, Lucas.
See you, Lucas.
Bye.
See you, man.
Awesome.
We were sitting in the cafeteria at the table. All the tables were full, and next to our table were these two guys eating their food, not done halfway through, and this lady strolls up and says, "You guys need to get up and leave. Weird Al's gonna sit here and eat." I was like, what? That's really weird.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, like a minute later, he walks up and he's like all smiles and he looks at the guys and he looks at me and he's like, "What's going on here?" And he says, "Oh no, finish your food." He was like shocked that the lady did this, you know. And I thought that was that was cool.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah. Well, I don't. Was this lady with him, or this lady was just the lady that worked there?
She seemed to be like some sort of like she was part of the Comic-Con or whatever.
Yeah, the con staff.
Taking care.
Were there no other tables? Like
it was packed. That place is always packed. It's like, you know, they call it.
So did he physically sit down next to you to eat?
He stood there and let them finish eating.
Wow.
And then
stand-up guy.
I don't remember. I don't remember how long he stood there or what, but or they might have gotten up. I don't remember.
You had a conversation with him?
I didn't get to talk to him, but I remember that. I've met a ton of people. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Anyone that like you had a conversation with that was really cool?
Conversations. Well, a lot of celebs hit on my wife.
Your wife?
Pretty cool.
Or your girlfriend, one of those.
One of the guys, I forget his name, but he's like a major B actor.
Wait, can you be a major B actor?
Character actor.
Okay. Hey, that's not my character.
I can't remember his name though.
Philip Seymour Hoffman and Paul Giamatti, the two.
No, but he was totally hitting on my wife.
Oh, an old guy or a young guy?
No, let me see if I can find his name.
Comedy, drama, both.
Can't remember his name.
Matt,
David Carradine was cool.
Oh, David Carradine, nice.
Michael Madsen was awesome.
Wow, the tough guys.
The two hobbits.
The two Elijah Wood?
No, Frodo's friends. Elijah Wood, I saw him. I didn't get to talk to him.
And, Sean Astin?
Or not Sean Astin.
Dominic Monaghan.
Dominic Monaghan and the other dude.
Yeah.
Gollum.
Andy Serkis.
Virgil, $1 Million Man's sidekick, Virgil.
Nice.
What? That's not a celebrity.
What are you talking about? He's totally it's Virgil.
Wizard World Philly turned into basically like a haven for old wrestlers.
Yeah.
And Virgil, I think, was actually at one of the Wizard World Phillies we went to back in like 2004 or 5.
That's where they make all their money.
Lou Ferrigno and all those guys that you're like, wow, they're here. And then you think about it and you're like, wow, they're here.
It's funny you mentioned Lou Ferrigno because I put on Celebrity Apprentice and he's on there and George Takei.
Lou Ferrigno. He tried to charge me like $20 for a photo.
$20.
And I bolted. I took off running.
What dude?
I didn't want to be like, no.
Yeah. It's funny how much people try to charge.
He when he gets mad or he twitches. He gets all like.
Does he?
Like he's holding it in.
He's going to turn into Bill Bixby.
Right.
David Prowse, Kenny Baker.
I met Kenny Baker in Florida at a Star Wars weekend.
Man.
He's tiny.
His forearm is like this big.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can even.
I've been watching the Ricky Gervais Life is Too Short with Warwick Davis, who was.
Davis was awesome.
Yeah. But I don't know if I buy it because Warwick Davis seems so nice, and he's playing like a really bastard version of himself, and it's hard to buy.
Warwick Davis, when I went to the last Star Wars Celebration, I got to sit kind of up near the front during the whole, hey, we're going to interview George Lucas kind of thing with Jon Stewart. And he walked like right next to me with his family, and his wife is a little person too. And I think he's got 2 kids, and one is a regular-sized person, and the other one's a little person. But yeah, he walked right by, and he had a whole escort with him and everything. But he seemed like a nice guy, I think.
I would think so.
Yeah.
You can't be Willow if you're not nice.
That's true. It's not like he was Mad Mardigan, you know.
Yeah.
He was a complete jerk.
Oh man, Comic-Cons are fun.
Yeah, I got to get out there sometime.
I just kept coming back with stacks and stacks of books, illustration books, and
Yep.
I actually made a post about that today. How I want to get rid of a lot of my books because I hardly ever touch them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the money spent is just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, they were like $15-$20 a pop. You know, you get these soft cover manuals, or that you get some of the more detailed anatomy books, which are hardcover, and they come in a set of 3 or 4. And
I brought this up before.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
You're freezing with you.
I see. I'm trying to. I called it a rapathon, but it could be a hurlathon or artistathon or whatever it is. But the idea of a 10-hour, or 12-hour, 24-hour hangout on air where we had people, different personalities popping in, artists, musicians, doing different things along the way, and working that in for, you know, maybe like a telethon type thing, whether we had a real charity or the charity was everybody involved, and you know, for every like, if you donate $5 X amount of dollars, you get a CD or an art drawing or whatever. And I don't know if it would be pay to view, like $1 to view, and we do it every month, or everyone would view for free. I don't really know what the details would be. Something I was playing around with my head. It sounds like Lucas was saying it's not a lot of work, but I can't imagine it. It's probably to organize it and getting people in and collecting the money and all that stuff probably is a lot of work, and sending out the merchandise. But
maybe you could have us send Paul and Aaron back to Comic-Con charity. That would be
right. Oh yeah.
Tim, you can come too. We'll kick you some.
Oh, send Paul. What about me? I can't come.
I wonder if Jerry Lewis is busy these days.
Yeah, it's true. He's gone as the spokesperson for the other
telethon.
For
muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
He can do it.
I think you could do it. I mean,
is he on Google Plus?
Yeah, yeah. I think he's got a whole page set up.
Does he?
He's on Twitter probably.
Is it him on Twitter though?
Probably not. Well, I mean, Daria did her 24-hour New Year's Eve thing. There wasn't money or donations involved. The hardest thing would be the money and donations.
Well, I'm sure she sold some shirts and CDs along the way.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, this would be something that would happen over 24 hours. You'd have to set up like a PayPal or some kind of account.
Well, that's not the hard
part.
I mean, no. I mean, I guess if I have this certain amount of artists that was like every time we hit that, I would say, all right, this is who the person is and the address, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I would say if people could just donate via PayPal, and they'd have to give their name and address, and based on how much they paid, we would send them whatever we agreed to send them. And then I'd figure out how to split the money between everyone involved, and da-da-da-da, the cost of sending things out. And so there's a lot involved. I mean, obviously, if we do it and we don't raise a lot of money, we still have all that material, but that's that's like 10 hours of HOA to edit. That's crazy too, but even more if we do more than that. But so I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because there are different time zones, and with the power of the HOA, we can do so much. You literally can have HOA running forever. Like you know, but Daria was doing it so she would have the HOA for one time zone, then shut it off to take a break and then come back, which made sense too. Because my throat gets dried up after like 4 or 5 hours of talking stuff. But
I just remembered Crispin Glover was one of the celebs that I met.
I heard he's a lunatic. Like
he was really nice.
Yeah.
I only got to talk to him.
Hey you, where's Robert McGee?
That's old school.
That's MIA. We were talking about someone made a joke putting up a video like in memoriam of Hangouts and just putting up pictures of people that used to hang out that don't hang out.
Well, he hung out yesterday, I guess.
Oh, did he really?
There was a spotting. I didn't see him.
Spotted.
That's funny.
You could do some art sketching. Yeah, Paul and Tim sketch the people, or put the people that are missing, and Rob creates the music, and I put it all on the video, and we put it out there.
Let's put it on a big milk carton.
Milk carton. Rob Medicoff with milk carton.
And Aaron's got the advertising down pat.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Aaron, me and Tim and Paul, we saw a lot of great artwork. Your artwork definitely would fit into the fair, the Fountain Fair. Fountain Art.
Where's it? Fountain Art?
Art Fair. Art Fair in New York City this past weekend.
Framing it and putting it up, because there was a lot of political stuff.
Nice.
Stuff.
The fountain being Duchamp's fountain.
Oh,
It was
Duchamp.
like the mascot of the event.
Logo, yeah, that was cool.
Awesome.
That was a great show. I'm so glad I went.
It was a cool show.
Did you there one sketch you're working on with those guys? Did you fill it in?
I haven't get around to finishing it.
Cool.
And my sister's scanner is kind of crappy, so I'm gonna wait till I get back to scan stuff. I was working on a painting today and tried to scan it, and it looks like shit. So.
Paul is laughing. So Paul, so we were talking about concepts and stuff. What for the gallery, you know what you're talking about the ladies, but what about in April aren't you doing Philly?
In April there's a gallery opening in Philly. It's Gallery ML. All they focus on is body painting. And so we're gonna try to put that live on the air with some extra
I saw you got
jazz.
You got Jem and Lauren onto Google Plus, or at least they are.
Well, Lauren was on Google Plus for a while, and then she gave up. And we collectively got them back on. Jem has been on for a while.
Cool.
Hey, so yeah, send us a link. We'll circle up.
Lauren was on.
Hey Shannon, I'm gonna have to turn your feed off.
Yo.
Oh yeah, there we go.
It's a meter. Yeah, Shannon was watching. Thank you, Shannon, for watching live, and she wanted to come in just blacked out, so it's maybe just audio. But I mean, there was an echo. Maybe you had the live stream going.
Right.
Cool.
Welcome.
Hey, you want to hear another song? Rob looks like he's ready to play.
Sure, I can play a tune. Then I'll probably have to excuse myself.
Sure, we can wrap up if you want. If you guys want to, or if you want to talk more, it's up to you guys. I don't.
Yeah. Here, I'll do some.
All right, cool, Rob. Thank you. Appreciate it. You being here, Rob Michael.
Happy to do it, man. This is fun. This is hecka cool. Let's see what'll happen if I do this. Yeah, this will work out fine. This will work out fine. Yes, and yes. Hello.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob Michael. That was Rob Michael.
Yeah.
Cool. That was really cool, man. That was really groovy.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Super
it.
fun, man.
Yeah. Man, I want to do it more. We're gonna have Heather Faye next week if you want to check that out. Hopefully that'll work out.
Yeah, Heather will be great. She'll be totally great. Absolutely.
Oh, she's really great. And I really hope we can all hurl. Like, it'd be really cool to get everyone that really hangs out to hurl in one place for a nice week or whatever, if we could do that. The time, the money, the effort, all that is crazy. But if someone out there, I don't know.
Yeah. If we could find a corporate sponsor somewhere,
find someone that thinks that maybe us getting together will help them more than say the
I heard Facebook will pony up the money to get Google Plus people to hang out together.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Facebook's on the table. What about that Blue Bird? Does the Blue Bird say?
Yeah, they'll pay for some people to go, but they can only fund so many. Oh, only up to 140 people.
Only up to a good thing we only hang out with like 20. What? I said that. but I appreciate it. Rob Michael, you were awesome. And Lucas Johnson coming in was great. And Bobbi Jo Woods. Thank you, Paul Roustan. It was good hurling. I got to hurl with Paul Roustan and Tim Clary this last weekend, which was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And Aaron Wood and Shannon. Thanks for Shannon's first hangout. Thanks for being in here.
Yeah.
Hope it was good for you. And and next time we'll do video. And awesome. Yeah, we're about to lag out here. And Google Plus, thanks for the experience. We enjoyed whatever tonight was. It was crazy and it was entertaining. See you next week. Have a good night and go listen to some independent music and go buy some independent art. But not necessarily from Aaron Wood, you know?
No, not me. My stuff sucks.
Later, guys.
We'll see ya.